Hello everyone, welcome to Sam Science View channel. In today's video, we are going to listen to a science fact: what creates rust. Before getting into the video, please watch this entire video, and if you have any science related clarifications, get it rectified through this channel. Now let's get into the video. You have probably seen rust on old cars or buildings and other metal surfaces and wondered what it is. Many people generally think that rust is simply oxidation and don't really know what causes it. So, what causes this rust? Now, let's see. What is rust is? Rust is an iron oxide, a product of the reaction between iron and oxygen in the presence of water or air moisture. The oxygen reacts with the iron to form iron oxide, which is also known as rust. The water helps the oxygen to react with the iron by providing a source of moisture. Rust is a major problem for many industries because it can cause metal surfaces to deteriorate and break down. It can also be very difficult to remove once it has formed. Rust can cause serious problems for buildings, structures, cars, and other valuable metal products. It is essential to understand what creates rust to prevent it from forming in the first place. Industries and other organizations that use metal objects need to take measures to protect their assets from rust and other forms of corrosion as much as possible. So, now let's see the rust formation process. As I said earlier, the rust is an iron oxide which forms when iron or an alloy that contains iron is exposed to oxygen and moisture for a long time. The resulting reddish brown appearance is due to hydrated iron 3 oxide formation. Rusting is an electrochemical process that begins with transferring electrons from the metal to oxygen. This creates an electron deficiency in the metal, which must be filled by the flow of electrons from a more electronegative substance. Three things must be present for rusting to occur. First is iron, second is oxygen, and the third is water. Rust forms when these three elements combine and create an electrochemical reaction like iron plus water plus oxygen gives hydrated iron 3 oxide. It is the hydrated part that makes rust brown instead of red. Now let's see some factors influencing the rate of rusting. When it comes to rust, not all metals are created equal. The rate of rusting depends on the various factors that can be summarized as follows. First one, the type of metal. Some metals rust more easily than others. For example, iron and steel rust more readily than aluminum or stainless steel. The difference is due to the electrochemical potential of the metal. Pure metals are usually more reactive and therefore more prone to rusting. Stainless steel alloys contain at least 10.5% of chromium. The chromium forms a thin layer of oxide on the surface of the steel that protects it from further rusting. If your appliances are rusting, it may be due to the fact that they are made with a less corrosion resistant steel alloy. Second is the presence of moisture. Rust can't form without water. The reason why iron pipes often rust from the inside is that water vapor condenses on the metal. The presence of moisture speeds up the rusting process because it provides the electrolyte needed for the reaction to occur. Non alloyed metals are particularly susceptible to rusting in humid environments. That is why you will often see galvanized steel or wrought iron rusting faster than other types of metal. Third, the presence of oxygen. Rust can only form in the presence of oxygen. If you live in a dry climate, your metal surfaces may be less likely to rust. This is because oxygen is required for the reaction to occur and it is more readily available in the humid air. What you need to remember is that not only oxygen is found in water or humid areas, carbon dioxide in the air can also provide the oxygen necessary for rusting. In the presence of water, carbon dioxide reacts to form carbonic acid. This electrolyte can speed up the rusting process and cause corrosion. Therefore, even if you don't live in a humid climate, your metal surfaces may still rust if they are exposed to carbon dioxide and water. Fourth, the presence of other chemicals. Rust can also form when other chemicals are present. For example, salt accelerates the rusting process by corroding the metal. This is why you will often see iron railings and fences rust more quickly near the ocean. Acids can also speed up the rusting process. This is because they break down the oxide layer that forms on the surface of the metal, exposing the metal to oxygen and water, hence accelerating the rusting process. Bases can also promote rusting. This is because they neutralize the acids that form on the surface of the metal, exposing it to oxygen and water. Therefore, if you live in an area with high pollution levels, your metal surfaces may be more likely to rust. Fifth, the temperature. The temperature can also influence the rate of rusting. In general, the higher the temperature, the faster the rusting process. This is because the molecules of water and oxygen are more active at high temperatures and they can more easily penetrate the metal surface and react with the iron. So, how we can prevent this rusting? We'll see some tips. Preventing rust is a never ending battle because there are so many ways that metal can become exposed to oxygen and moisture. The following are some general tips for preventing rust. Keep metal clean and dry. Whenever metal becomes wet, wipe it dry as soon as possible to prevent rust from forming. Metals such as car engines and industrial parts washer should be cleaned religiously. Apply a rust resistant coating. This can be a paint, powder coating, oil, or wax. The key is to make sure the metal is completely covered so that oxygen and moisture can't reach it. Store metal in a cool, dry place. Store metal in a climate controlled environment to prevent rust from forming. Check for rust regularly. Inspect metal regularly for any signs of rust and remove it immediately. You can use degreasers after the initial cleaning. Use rust resistant fasteners. When attaching metal to other metal, use fasteners made from a rust resistant material such as stainless steel. Now, what will produce rust when wet? Hydrogen peroxide, also known as H2O2, is what will produce rust when wet. It does this by oxidizing the metal, which then creates rust. How can we remove this rust? Yes, there are a few ways to remove rust, including sanding using a chemical rust remover, using a quality degreaser, or using an electrolytic process, and then repainting the metal. So, in conclusion, rust can be a costly affair that often goes unnoticed. It is important to take measures to prevent rust from developing and address it early on when it does occur. Ensure that your home or office is well ventilated and that any areas prone to dampness are properly insulated. So, when you see this rust in a metal, don't get frustrated. Just remove it using some processes. So, if you have this iron materials or more reactive metals, and if you have oxygen and water in your surroundings, surely rust is formed and it causes some damage. So, rectify it and get it cleared. So that's it for today's video. I hope so you got some science related facts related to what cause rust. And if you have any science related queries, you can comment it below. We'll meet in the next science fact treasury series. Until then, it's goodbye from Sam. Take care.